Good evening, everyone. Man, this is an awesome group. I'm Frank Ward. I get the honor and privilege and, conscription to be your MC tonight, as I was last year. How many of you were here last year? Oh, that's cool. It was such a great time of storytelling, and I know it's going to be a great time tonight. And I see some of you have brought some things to sip on while you're here. We need supervision at this table, and that table over there.
It's too late.
Too late. So I have a disclaimer story because I don't want you to, if I get a little foggy tonight, it's because my wife and I just got in from Hawaii last night. One more, Miss Jackie, thank you. You know, I mean, sitting in the sun in 80-degree temperature, riding horseback through a 7,000-acre cattle ranch, snorkeling, parasailing, swimming with dolphins. You know, it just gets boring and it gets overwhelming. The one that got away was when I was with the sharks and the blue whale came by. Oh wait, it's supposed to be true, right? Okay, scratch that last part. We did actually get in from Hawaii last night, and but I promised Mike that I would do this. So still on Hawaii time. So it's only 11 o'clock. No, it's only 4 o'clock. Anyway. All right, so thank you for being here. We're going to have a great evening tonight. We're going to have stories about the one that got away. Last year was something, I can't remember exactly, but it was...
Blessing in disguise.
Yeah, blessing in disguise. And we had 3 winners last year, and I want to recognize them. James Corral. James, are you here? Stand up. James was our winner last year. He's back to take another trophy this year, maybe. We'll see. And Gwen Brown. Is Gwen? Bobby, did she?
She's not here, but I'm...
All right, there's Gwen. Better hat. She came in 2nd place. And then Miss Paula Kay, 3rd place winner. I could never say your all's last name, Paula. Say it. Krasinski. Mazinski? I thought it started with a K.
That's why you say it wrong.
Oh, well, Mazinski. You can just call me Wade. That's all right. So, let's go over some ground rules. Here are all the storyteller names. We're going to do 10 stories. So we have more names than we do, I think there's 11 or 12 in there. So we're going to pick them at random.
13.
We have 13? Okay. We're going to pick them at random. So I'm going to choose and read a name. It'll be truly arbitrary, no favoritism. There'll be a 5-minute limit on your story. You got to keep it that way or we'll be here all night, which might not be a bad idea, but anyway, we're going to say 5 minutes. At 5 minutes, you're going to hear a bell right over here. The paper says 5 minutes. We went over this 16 times. After you hear that bell at 5 minutes, you have 59 seconds. Not 60 seconds. 59 seconds to finish your story, or else you will hear a second bell. Second bell? You see the hook? All right. We got that from vaudeville, Edwards and vaudeville, so he's still got his hook. And we'll pull you off. You'll be disqualified. And if you have any problem with that, see Cecilia. She's the sergeant at arms. You bring no notes, no script. I didn't have any introduction. Well, I do kind of have this, but no notes, no script, so it's all from your heart and your memory. And it has to be true. That's what makes it real. Because, you know, honestly, every one of us, every person is a walking, living story. Part of what I enjoy people is hearing their stories. And I've had so many times, I can tell you, in my short life, my young life, where I've seen someone and I've said, I wonder what their story is. And that very person became one of my best friends. And we got to share a lot of story together. So, you're valuable and every story is important. And we're going to give applause to every person that comes up. And please always be respectful. After the last story, we'll ask all the storytellers. I'll call them up one by one, kind of do a little synopsis. And you have some papers in front of you. Each one will be given a letter, each storyteller, and then you're going to vote. You guys are the judges. Even the storytellers who tells the story are the judges. You're going to get to vote on what story meant the most to you, you felt like was the best story, whatever criteria you want to choose. James inspired us all last year, and with his beautiful story, and so did Gwen, and so did, well, all of them were beautiful. They were really good. So, the person who gets the most votes will get 50% of the proceeds. What are the proceeds up to now? $10,000? Second place will get 30%, and third place will get 20%. Paula got $500 last year. No, and then we'll have some pictures and we'll conclude our time together. Okay, I think that's it. I don't know if you have any questions or not. Do we have any other rules or ground rules to go by? Brother Bobby's going to give us a little music in between storytelling time. Are you ready for the first story?
Yay!
Amen. All right. Let's begin. I love this part. First storyteller, Brianna Moore. Where's Brianna? You can stand behind the podium. I'll turn this mic on for you, or you can use the handheld. Which would you like to do, Brianna?
Handheld. So does it have to be a romantic?
It's whatever.
Something had to get away.
The one that got away.
One that got away. Okay, so
Juicier, that's the better. Right.
this is not a story about a sexy man or a beautiful specimen from Jamaica or some man with some fabulous accent. Those are the kind of men that I like. That's why I don't got one. I get in trouble. I just hear that accent. Have you ever done Facebook dating? Don't. So this is a story about my grandson. He's the one who got away. My son moved to North Carolina and took my grandchildren with him. And I was sad at first. Really, really hurt. It's like, how could I be a grandmother and I stayed in California so I could raise my grandchildren and they move away to North Carolina. But my mother was raised in Natchitoches, Louisiana, and she had a outhouse in a shanty shack. And I grew up in the projects in Potrero Hill, and my son moved to North Carolina and had a house built from the ground up for his wife and his children. So I can't be mad. He said it was I said, oh, Brian, you got an acre of land. He said, Mother, it's not an acre, it's a quarter acre. I said, who quibbles over acreage ground? So this is the story of TJ and Parker. TJ and Parker are my grandchildren, and I used to take them to Target. I would have a little special Saturday with them, and then after that we would go to Target. So one day I was babysitting for them, and I saw TJ stamp on this little boy's foot. I said, TJ, what are you doing? That's not nice. How could you do somebody like that? Come over here and sit down. And then I saw Parker push another guy, little boy. I said, you guys are just acting out really terribly today. I'm very, very disappointed in your behavior. Get in the car. So we get in the car, and TJ, he's the oldest, he said, so, Nana, are we gonna go and get some popcorn? I said, you stomped on somebody's foot and you pushed somebody. I said, do you think you deserve some popcorn? Parker, he was like 4, he came up from the back and he said, that'll be a no, Nana. So So whenever something goes wrong in my group or at work, everybody will come up and say, that'll be a no then. My second little story with Parker is we were driving, and Brian, we grew up in the city. And so when we first came to a rural area, he saw cows. He was like 3 years old. And he saw the cows, and he said, "Doggy, mommy, big doggy?" I said, "No, Brian, that's not a dog, that's a cow." "Doggy, mama, doggy." I was like, okay. So then Parker was coming, he was like 6. And I said, your dad and I came out here one time, and he saw the cows, and he thought that the cows were dogs. And he said, "What?" He said, "Nana, everybody knows that dogs don't eat grass. What's wrong with my daddy?" I said, he was only 3 years old. He said, "Oh my God, thank the Lord, I thought he was a stupid fool."
Again, you can stand by here, use the handheld mic. Susan West. Where's Susan?
Okay, so this goes back to about 1985. Had moved up here from Southern California, selling lab supplies to research labs and all that, making lots of money, but I really wanted to get into healthcare. I wanted to be a veterinarian since I was about this tall. When I couldn't pronounce veterinarian, it was animal doctor. But they weren't letting women into vet school. I was told to my face, "Why won't we let you in? You'll get ready to have kids," and we wasted all that money. So I started thinking what else I could do, and I had some good luck with chiropractic. But I wanted to go back to Southern California and talk to one of my best friends in 7th grade about, "Hey, I've got these ideas, what do you think?" and all that. And then I said, "I want to go to Catalina, just to get away for a couple days and think." So they took me to the boat to go over to Catalina, and I decided, well, while I'm here, I might as well do some scuba diving, because I was certified. So I thought this would be a great place to go and just kind of relax and think about what I really needed to do. Got on the dive boat. I was used to having a dive master, no dive master. Just 2 young guys, probably 15, were going to be with me. One knew everything and just said, "Don't even talk to me, I know what I'm doing." And the other guy was apparently nervous. So the 3 of us jump in the water, no dive master, and the scared guy grabbed my arm. He said, can you just take care of me?" I go, "Oh great, I'm the dive master." So we went down, and he still got my arm, and the other guy swims off. And eventually they go up, and I thought, I'm just going to hang out here, swimming around, just enjoying the environment. And all of a sudden, I see this creature come screaming towards me. I couldn't see what it was, but in my mind it was a shark. And I thought, well, there's kind of boring ways to die, or this one would be more exciting, and it'll be quick. I'll be gone real quick. And all of a sudden, this creature comes up and starts blowing bubbles in my face. It was a seal. And he said, I kind of communicate to animals, and what I was thinking of saying is, "Hey, welcome to my neighborhood. This is where I live." And I was starting to swim around with this little guy for a while, and it was just incredible. And then I thought, this is a perfect ending to a nice day of diving, not getting eaten. That was kind of nice. But I got up on the boat and I thought, life can be really short. So if I want to do something, I need to make a decision. And apparently I ended up going to chiropractic school and got certified in animal chiropractic, so I got to work in vet hospitals. And the nice thing is, the ending of the story is, I was the one that got away. I didn't get eaten.
Susan, can you help my back? I just got. This is what's so great about an evening like this, is you're really learning about people. We kind of walk around and saunter around and go from here and there around, and we just see faces, and we don't really know there's lives that have lived wonderful, interesting, exciting, valuable life. And that's why I think this is such a hit for most folks. At least it was, and it is. All right. Ann Craig. Where are you? There she is. Number 3. Thank you for the applause.
I should have had a glass of wine before I did this. Okay, so my story starts back even before hers. In 1979, I was living with my husband Dean and my little girl who had just been born a few months earlier, Heather, and we were in a one-bedroom apartment in Fresno, California. And my husband Dean was in his second year of driving for Greyhound, and every once in a while he'd get a charter up to Tahoe, ski charter. So I'm in the kitchen with Heather, she's on the floor in a little cradle thing, and Dean calls me on the phone, very excited. And I go, "Hi, what's going on?" He goes, "You're never gonna believe what happened." I said, "What happened?" He goes, I was looking for a blackjack table, couldn't find one, decided to play the slots. Well, the man never played the slots, never. So I said, "Yeah, really?" I said, "Well, what happened?" He goes, "I went on one of those, slot machines, and it had the 3 reels, and he goes, on the 3rd line," he goes, "You're not going to believe this." I said, What? He goes, "It came up, 3 sevens." I said, "You got to be kidding." He goes, 3 sevens, $25,000. I start screaming. I just threw down the phone. I picked up Heather. I started dancing around the kitchen. "Heather, your daddy is so wonderful. He's amazing. We're going to be able to get a house." Houses in Fresno at that time, 79, cost about $16,000. And $25,000 is about worth $150,000 now. I'm screaming and I'm dancing around the living room in Heather's the kitchen, and Heather's giggling, and I go, "Your daddy's so wonderful. We're gonna have a down payment for a house. You're gonna have your own room, honey. You're gonna have a garden and a sweet stuff." All of a sudden I hear on the phone, "Wait. I go, What? He goes, "I haven't finished the story." I said, Yeah, I know. You gotta pay some taxes, but that'll still be a 20% down payment." And I'm going, and he goes, wait, let me finish. I go, "Okay, what?" He goes, "Well, you see," he goes, "it was kind of my last time putting the quarters in. And to get the 25,000, you had to put the 3 quarters in. And I only had 2. And I said, "Hold on a minute." I put down Heather. I go, "Let me see if I understand this. You only had 2 quarters. You didn't have the 3 quarters." He goes, "Yeah, right, but I've never gotten that close on a slot machine." I said, "I want to make sure I got this right. You called me from Tahoe to tell me we almost won $25,000. He goes, "Yeah." I go, "Hang on a minute." And ladies, maybe you can appreciate this more than the men, but if I could have reached these phone lines and strangled the man, I would have. And that, my friends, is my sad but true story of the fortune that got away.
Oh, boy. Yeah. This is great. Oh, I gotta refrain from making comments. Okay. Great stories. Great stories. 4th storyteller is Mick Riley. Take a handheld.
Go for it, buddy.
That's great, thank you. My name is Mick Riley. I am not going to tell a funny story. I want to talk about the day that my wife and I basically lost our lives. It was November 22nd, 2018. We were woke up in the morning by telephone, neighbors, police, sirens, and everything else, and given about 15 minutes to evacuate our home in Paradise, California. And in 15 minutes, we rushed around, put everything we could in our cars, loaded our dogs in, and took off down the hill at a very slow pace because the roads were already totally full. They were packed, it was back to back. I mean, it was very slow. So we went, got in line, and my wife and I, we had our two cars, so she was driving one, I was driving the other. We were driving down the hill at about 2 miles an hour out of Paradise. Took us about most of the day to get down to a hotel by Sacramento to stay in. It was a very scary time, 9 o'clock in the morning as we're driving down. It was pitch black from the soot or the smoke that was in the air. We were getting ash falling on us, and it looked like a snowfall, almost hitting the car and sticking to the windshield. And we could hear in the background as we were driving away all the propane tanks exploding from our houses. That was a very scary time. It was a very scary time. We spent the next month or so dealing with insurance, dealing with the loss that we had, because we literally lost everything that we had. We had a gorgeous custom home in Paradise. That was going to be where we stayed. So we fortunately were able to stay in San Francisco at our son's condo. He was in Hawaii, not Hawaii, sorry. He was actually in England working, and so we got a couple of months that we could stay there without them coming back. So we filled out insurance forms, we did all the things we had to do, take care of our dogs. We talked to our insurance company about getting a rental, and the insurance company said, you know what, with Paradise, 25,000 homes were lost. There are no rentals. If you can find one, let us know and we'll pay for it. So we contacted a real estate agent in Paradise. Excuse me, sorry, I'm getting lost there. We contacted a real estate agent here in Rio Vista to look at Trilogy. And we were fortunate and found one of the very few rentals that we could move into. So we rented here in Trilogy. Now, during that time that we were renting, we had a problem with replacing literally our entire lives. Not only the physical things, furniture, clothing, utility, kitchen stuff, everything else, but we were sending out letters to all of our family, asking for duplicate copies of any photographs they had, because we lost all that. We had nothing. And we were also at that point in time going through a little case of, I guess you'd call it PTSD. We were a little crispy, and dealing with the loss of all of this stuff. So the bright side of this, and I will say the phoenix rising out of the ashes, so to speak, is that not only did we rent here in Trilogy, but we bought here in Trilogy. We love it here. And there is a little bit of irony here, because I heard that. A year before, we had actually looked at Trilogy as an option for when we got old and couldn't go up and down the stairs. So Trilogy worked out really well. So we rose from the ashes, and we are glad we are here. This is our new life. Thank you.
Nick, is your wife with you here tonight?
No, she's home taking care of our dog.
Taking care of your dog. Well, thank you so much for sharing that story. It really puts a lot in perspective for a lot of us. And I think I could say that Paradise's loss is Trilogy's gain, because you came. You're right. Thank you. Appreciate that. Wonderful. And that's what stories are supposed to be. It's a variety of all kinds of life experiences. Oh, Andrea, shy. There it is, Andrea.
Well, my story starts out when I was 15. We had moved and I was looking to make some friends, and so I joined this group called Civil Air Patrol. It's an auxiliary of the Air Force, and absolutely loved it. But the plus was I met this absolutely gorgeous guy who was so funny and a knockout in the uniform, of course. And I figured I had to have him. But I was 15 and he was 20, and he was in college and I was a sophomore, so that's not going to happen. Anyway, after a couple of years of me putting myself in front of him as much as possible, and oh, I need a ride home from the meeting, you know, I don't have transportation, could you give me a ride? And I'd go out with the officers for coffee. That was fun. And then he'd give me the ride home. Well, after a while, we finally started dating. Thought that would never happen. We dated for a while, it was great. But when I was 17, he asked me to marry him. Yeah, that's what I said. I said no. I said, I'm just too young for this. I really don't understand what life's about, what love's about, and I'm not getting married in high school. It's not going to happen. So we went on, we dated a bit. He got drafted, went on with his life. I went on with my life. I did get married after high school when I was in college. That didn't work out. Bad match. Got divorced. And I went looking for this gorgeous guy. I thought, he's got to be around someplace. So I'm looking, I don't know how to find him, I can't find him. And finally the gods just dropped him right in front of me, literally. His car cut me off at an intersection, and I looked up with, you idiot, and it was him. I thought, oh. So I followed him, he recognized that he saw who was in the car. So we pulled in the parking lot, and we both got out of our cars. And he stood there. And I couldn't stand it. I ran up to him and I threw my arms around him. Everybody knows I'm a hugger. But I threw my arms around him and he stood there with his hands in his pockets. And I thought, ooh, okay. So I stepped back. We chatted a bit, and seems he was married and had a 4-month-old. Well, I don't mess with people's marriages. So we chatted a bit and I went on my way. I got married again. Bought a house, had a kid, life was going great. The marriage wasn't, but the life was. And things got rough when I had my daughter, because my husband at the time started drinking a lot. He had before, he had stopped, but then he started it up again. He also had a bit of a wandering eye, mostly with his old girlfriend. So I'm at home working, watching the kid, and one day he comes home from work and he says, well, guess who works at IVC now? And that's where he worked, the company. And I said, I don't know. He goes, your boyfriend. And I said, I don't have a boyfriend, I'm married to you. And he goes, Gary Scheib. And I went, oh. So the next day, being a very good wife, I took my husband's sunglasses to him to work. He forgot them. So I drove the 20 miles to take him to the office because he needed his sunglasses. Got there just before noon, walked into the lobby and said, could I speak to Gary Scheib, please? And so they got him on the phone. And I said hi, and he goes, where are you? And I said, I'm downstairs in the lobby. And he goes, stay there. Okay. So he canceled his luncheon date and came down, and we went to lunch. We went to a lot of lunches over the years. And I told Wayne, I said, I saw Gary, I had lunch with him, that was it. Okay. Dwayne ended up going off with his girlfriend, which is exactly where he needed to be. In fact, she and I are good friends. They got married, and she and I are still good friends. And I went off with Gary. We had an 8-year gap between the time I saw him at the parking lot and the time I saw him and had lunch with him. And even after 12 years since he had asked me to marry him, I still knew he was the one. I found out from him that he kept track of me the whole time. He knew where I lived, he knew my phone number, he knew when I had my kid, where I had my kid. I think he was a stalker. Anyway, I think that we're both the ones that got away, and we're made up for it by getting back together. We've been married 47 years.
Is Gary here today?
No, but he told me to tell you guys, to say how wonderful he is.
Gary, we think you're wonderful. Thank you. Wow. Wow. I love hearing people's stories. Okay. Is that number 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Okay. Number 6. Ken Gutman. Come tell your story. You want to use this one? There you go.
Well, good evening, I'm Ken Gutman, and I'm going to tell you a story. When I was younger and went to college in San Jose State and had a degree in hydraulics engineering with a minor in law enforcement, I chose law enforcement. So I joined the sheriff's office after number 1 in 3 different departments. I chose Santa Cruz County Sheriff's Office because I grew up in that area. And I love the beach, and I love the mountains, and I love the people, and the varying little cities and the bigger cities, and it was for me. Well, on normal patrol, what we call the North Beat, which is the San Lorenzo Valley. I don't know if you're familiar with Ben Lomond and Boulder Creek and Brookdale in that area. I got a call that there was a man in a bar brandishing a weapon, and he was talking about killing somebody. So I got the call. It's a tricky thing to go in when you know guy's got a gun. The bartender told our people he had a gun. Well, there's a way to take care of that, and I did that. I came up and I froze him with the gun, and I said, put your hands on the bar, which he did, and I took the gun away, put it in my back. And I said, all right, you have a gun, who are you trying to kill? I've got to kill him. I said, well, who is it? He says, well, I picked a guy up hitchhiking in the rain about 2.5 weeks ago, and I brought him home because it was raining, and he was wet, and it was cold, and he was hungry, so I fed him. And then it was nighttime, and he slept on my bed, and I slept in a chair, a little wooden chair. And he won't leave. And he's been there 3 weeks now. And he eats my food, and he sleeps in my bed, and he wears my clothes, and he won't leave. Well, I'm all about not liking bullies. That's sort of my thing when I was a guy. I don't like bullies or people who push people around. So I was ticked. I said, so where do you live? He says, there's a place called Blake Hammond Manor. Well, I know that place because it was moved from England piece by piece and built in Brookdale. It's on the right side of the Highway 9 as you're going out. Gorgeous English manor. But behind that were residences for young people whose families didn't want them. This is people who have behavioral problems, or these are rich families who can afford to put their kids somewhere. It's called a warehouse for children. So I knew where he was, and I was a little bit forbear. I don't like that. So we went out there, and he's still in the car, and he tells me all about the place. He says, watch out, he's got a gun. And he hides. So I says, well, I'll find him. So I go in there, and I go in the door. It's the last one on the end, and I go in the door. The first thing I notice is every window's covered with paper. And the mirror's draped with blankets, and another mirror's draped with blankets. And I'm looking, and I have really good sense for people. And when I go into a building, I know when someone's there. I don't know exactly what they are, but I'll figure it out. I didn't sense anything. So I did a search with a flashlight. I searched everywhere. There was not that much furniture, a bed. I noticed there was a table with 2 plates. One had food that eat, the other one was empty. I noticed that there was a bed and some clothes thrown around. a couple of chairs, a big dresser in the corner with a mirror, and another little dresser, and a little bathroom. It was hard to find some place to hide. But I searched everywhere, the closet where he could hide, behind everything. No person and no gun. So I went out and I said to this young man, I said, I did a complete search. There's nobody in that room. He says, he hides. He's really good at it. I says, all right, we're gonna play a little game here. I'm gonna take you with me to the place inside. I'm gonna move your handcuffs from the back of you to in front of you. And you're gonna point where he is. And then you're gonna go out and sit in front of the drill car. So he and I go in, and he looks around and goes, no, he's over there. He's over there, behind the dresser. I said, I checked behind the dresser. There's no one behind the dresser. I said, you show me this man. And I'm prepared for doing something, but I knew something's wrong here. So he goes over and looks at the dresser, and he walks up to the dresser. And he picks up the big blanket, looks in the mirror, and goes, there he is! Now I know I've got a problem. Schizophrenia could be a problem at any age. So, but what I did find out, that when I have a person who's suffering from delusions, but when I patted him down before I put him in the patrol car, I found a big lumpy thing around his middle. Got it. So I have to now search him. So I take this off and I says, what is this? He says, that's my money belt. And I said, how much is in it? He says, $24. So I open up the first, it's an old leather one, snap pouches, and they got this wild money about like this. It had about almost 3,000 in the first pocket. So now my responsibility, of course, is to take care of him and the money. So anyway, long story short, I think it was either the money that got away or the man in the mirror got away. I think maybe both.
Kid, could you come over to our house? Someone keeps moving our dining room table around. Oh, is that you? Goodness. All right. Boy, these stories could make movies out of these stories. It's exciting, wonderful, wonderful. And that was 6. We're up to 7 now. This is the one that got away. There's no name on it.
We need a mirror.
Okay. Dave Glass? Dave Glass. Come on up, brother. This? All right. You bet.
Well, this is a story that goes back to 1957. Some of you may know a little bit about my background. This is how I got where I decided what I wanted to do in life. 1957 is a big year. The Toluca Lake Indians are the big team. I mean, they're the Kansas City Chiefs of 2 days ago. Nobody could beat the Toluca Lake Indians. My brother was the best player in the Little League, by far. And they didn't split up brothers. So my brother was not only an all-star, he was the best player in the league, and as his brother, I was assigned to his team. Now, I was 9 years old, played in the major leagues, and the Indians were the team that the Yankees had to beat but never could quite get there. And this was the year. We got to the championship game, but we were losing by 6 runs going to the last inning. And they had a rule in our league that every kid had to play at least briefly in every game. And so we're 6 runs down with 3 outs to go. We load the bases and we get one hit after another, and the score gets to where it is tied at 6 each. But there are 2 outs. The bases are loaded, and I haven't been in the game yet. And the public dress announcer makes the announcement, the batter for the Yankees is Glass. Oh my gosh, it's Glass. We've got him where we want him. It's David Glass. And I hear the crowd saying, why can't it be his brother? And I turn turned around and said, Mom, I'm trying to hit. Could you just be quiet and let me try to have that back here? So the bases are loaded, and Steve Gaddis, who did, I swear, razor blade commercials during the off season. And he's about 6 foot tall and left-handed, and he goes into a windup as I'm in the batter's box, and he throws that ball and boom, bam, right in the catcher's mitt for strike one, says the umpire. And I step out of the batter's box, and I'm just a little bit nervous, and there's Steve Gaddis, all calm and everything. He didn't get the bases loaded. They brought him in to pitch to Glass. They didn't have to bring him in to pitch to me. I had never gotten so much as a base hit. So this was it. Here goes Steve Gaddis into the windup, the high leg kick, and whoa, comes that big blistering fastball and a big crack as it goes into the catcher's mitt, and the umpire bells out, "Strike two." And I step out of the batter's box and I look down at the third base coach, and it's my manager, Mr. Milligan, and he gives me that great advice. Keep your eye on the ball, David. It only takes one. That's good, because I only got one. It's 2 strikes, 2 outs, the bases are loaded, and I get back in the batter's box, and Steve Gaddis goes into the windup, and here comes the pitch, and I'm determined to keep my eye right on that ball. And that ball is determined to stay right on my eye. And it goes crack and ricochets high in the air over the backstop off my head. And I drop like a sack of potatoes in the batter's box. And my teammates all come running out of the dugout, and they're around me at home plate, and my manager brings the smelling salts. And they wake me up and tell me I got the hit that drove in the winning run. So the Yankees beat the Toluca Lake Indians that day. And it was at that moment, at 9 years old, that I decided, you know what? I don't think I want to play this game. I think I'd rather be a baseball announcer. And so that was the one that got away from the Toluca Lake Indians, and it was the day that I decided I was going to broadcast and talk a good game, and the hell with playing. Thank you.
Okay, Dave, I think you've done this before. Good job, good job. Man. Loving these stories. Aren't you loving these stories? Yes. All right. I think this is number 8. I picked this arbitrary, even though he's my neighbor. I didn't know I was going to draw this name. John Fashing. Where's John? Hey, John. You don't have butthole 1 and butthole 2 with you? That's his 2 dogs, the white and black. Great dogs. That's what he called them, not me.
That's because that's what you see when you're walking them. They're in front of me. My time hasn't started, has it?
No.
Okay.
Buttholes don't count.
And I didn't realize I had more time with the bells, which makes me happier. Okay, so everybody's talking about a timeline. I'll start with mine. December 24th, 1980. I was fired from my job at Carl's Jr. because I had a disagreement with my manager. December 24th, 1981. I was let go from my job at a warehouse because the Christmas shopping season is over. 2 Christmases in a row, I don't have a job, and I'm really depressed, and I've decided I am going to do something very, very, very important with my life. I'm going to get a job in which they're not going to fire me on Christmas Eve. So I joined the Air Force. Now, when I initially joined, my recruiter told me it was a 6-month delayed enlistment program, and I said, okay, but is there any way I can get in there any earlier? And he said, yeah, you can, but you're going to lose the opportunity to pick your own job. And I said, I don't care, I need a job, please get me in. So 2 weeks later, he took me to the processing station, told me to pack a bag, and I was going to find out whether or not I could get in. Fortunately, 20 minutes after I arrived there, somebody had broken their leg, and I had the opportunity to go in. Now, I went in on what they call open general, which means that the Air Force is going to choose the job that they want me to have not the one that I want. And 3.5 weeks in, I found out I'm going to be an air traffic controller. I'm like, whatever. I honestly didn't know what an air traffic controller was. I thought it was the guy on the ground parking the plane. I only heard about it because President Reagan had fired all those controllers 6 months earlier. Okay, so, I'm going to be an air traffic controller, and all the people in my basic training think it's the greatest opportunity. Okay, well, I didn't realize what it was until I got to my technical school, and I found out I get to sit in front of a radar scope. This is just like a video game, and I know because I put lots of quarters into video games. So I'm having an opportunity to play with this, and I get to my first assignment, and I realize this is a lot like chess and Pac-Man mixed all into one. In that, in chess, you really have to plan far ahead in order to be able to determine what you're going to do next and how it affects everything later on down the line. But Pac-Man, you have to pick the right route and hope that goblin doesn't eat you up because you don't get any more quarters afterwards. So my first assignment is in Japan. I thought, okay, this is cool, but nobody speaks English, and I'm not really down with fish. But it was a nice assignment. And then 2 years later, they sent me to England. They speak English here. This is great. And I love my job. It's the best job in the world. And then I find out after 3 years, they're sending me to Altus, Oklahoma. I'm like, what? Okay, so I get to the armpit of America, and I realize that maybe I'm on the wrong trajectory. I might want to consider doing something else. And lots of people that I have been in training with went to work for the FAA, and I thought, I can do that too. And they're making over $100,000 a year. So as I'm getting further on into my enlistment, I have to decide whether or not I'm going to stay in and finish my career, because by the time my enlistment's over, it's 9.5 years, or if I'm going to go and take a shot with the FAA. So I decided to do the prerequisite work anyway. I took my test, got wonderful scores, breezed through the interview, had my medical and my security clearances, and the FAA told me, do not leave your job because you have nothing guaranteed with us. You're not guaranteed employment. My commander called me in and said, guess what, you've been selected for re-enlistment, and should you decide to re-enlist, we're going to send you on a remote assignment to Osan Air Base, Korea. I said, So I decided to push all my chips into the center and take a shot with getting into the FAA. The day I turned 31 and didn't have a job, I was too old to get into it. And they didn't have an age waiver opportunity for people like they do now, for people that have prior military experience, which was really disappointing for me. I had all this wonderful experience, and the dream job of my life, it was a video game! And I didn't get to play anymore. Now the good news is, I got to go back into the Air Force later on down the line, even though when I got out they said I couldn't come back in again. But I got to finish my career with the military, and I'm happier now having given it a shot than having not known and bypassed it altogether.
John, are you sure you're old enough to live here? I was in the Air Force. I was an air traffic controller. But I joined in '65. Hey, I don't need to hear that, John. Oh, smokes. Oh, well. All right. Linda Christian?
Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Okay. My husband and I have been married 59 years. Our life has been full of big A adventures, little A adventures, happiness, love, and a few bumps in the road. But miracles do happen, and we've experienced a couple of those too. About 30 years ago, we designed a gold ring to
to hold 5 diamonds. And 3 of those diamonds were from my grandmother's wedding ring. Now, I never met my grandmother. She died in 1930. But I got those diamonds when she passed. A diamond was left to each of her children. And I inherited 3 of those from my mother and my 2 aunts. So those diamonds have a lot of family history as well in them. So having that ring, I would glance at that and I realized the 3 women that contributed to my life and helped shape me. And they were strong women, and I treasure the ring. Let's go forward now to 2024. So that one evening, a couple months ago, my husband and I and another couple took a leisurely drive up the river to Steamboat Slough, one of our favorite restaurants. When we walked in, it was full of laughter and conversation, companionship, and clink-up glasses, and we had a wonderful meal. Between bites, I looked down at my ring, and my heart almost stopped. The diamond was missing. I'm going, where could it be? All of us at the table were looking around, on the tablecloth. We unfolded our napkins. A couple were down looking at the floor. I was just stunned. And I went through my day. I had been in the car. I had been on errands. I had been at aqua aerobics. I'd been in the pool. Where could it have been? Then I realized, oh my gosh, if it fell out of my dinner, I might have swallowed it. So I kind of didn't want to let that ruin the evening. We had a wonderful meal. And as we were prepared to leave, my husband was talking to the bartender and told her what had happened. And she stopped and she looked over at the table, which they were clearing right then, and she just got wide-eyed, and without a word, she just dashed from behind the bar and over to the table, pulled out the chairs, and dropped to her knees. And we're standing there and we're looking at her, and we're kind of all holding our breath. And without a word, and then everyone went silent in the restaurant. And soon her voice rang out, I found it. I was just amazed. She brought it over and placed it in the palm of my hand. And I looked at that diamond and tears came to my eyes like they're doing even thinking about it. And she had seen a tiny sparkle from where she was standing and went right to it. And so she found it, and I realized that miracles do happen, and that the one that got away found its way home.
Boy, am I tempted to do a sermon right now on that. That's a great story. All right, number 10, Rich Victor. Okay, Rich. I've seen you sitting there all night just waiting for your turn, buddy.
Hi. How am I doing on time so far? It was a dark and stormy night. When I got off the plane in San Francisco, and it was raining, and I think it rained for a week, and I thought, what have I done? Just what I'm thinking right now. What am I? But I was couch surfing because I was broke, and my friend said, you need to go and get food stamps. I said, okay. So I go to get food stamps, and the lady says, well, we won't give you food stamps unless you go and apply for a job. And I said, okay. So the food stamp lady, she said, well, you can apply here. We can give you a job giving out food stamps. So I said, okay. I said, I'll do that, but, do you have anything right now? And she said, yeah, and she sent me over to this nonprofit. They gave me a reverse directory, and I had to call everyone in San Francisco and try to get them to march on their block for, I think it was cerebral palsy, I can't recall. But the lady who ran it was retired phone company manager. And she liked me because I actually was doing the job, unlike most of the other people who were there, I guess, just to get the food stamps. I don't know. So she gave me a letter. I go down to the phone company on Folsom. I get hired. The guy says, you're going to work 12 to 8. So I thought, oh my God, that's sweet. I'll roll out of bed at 11, and I get off at 8. I can still go out and party. So I get to the orientation, and they said, we don't have any noon to 8 jobs. Then came the dawn. So I worked a year on the midnight shift. And so I'm trying to remember the rest of this story. Anyway, oh yeah, so the moral of the story is, so a couple days after that, I get a letter from the city of San Francisco. You've been hired to report for work, giving out food stamps. So I was at the phone company 24 years, and it was a good time. And the one that got away was me, because the city didn't get me giving out food stamps. That's my story.
Thank you. You know what? We only got one more. Would you like to have one more? I think that'd be really nice. Bill Bailey, won't you please come home? Make a good song title.
We don't sing that song.
Some of you younger folks don't know what I'm talking about. Now, we had a blank or two in there.
So give me 30 seconds and then you can start the clock, okay? I'll do by that, okay. Can you hear me even?
What?
I think it's on, okay. So, this is a story that goes back.
Closer to the mic. Closer to the mic.
Oh, you're gonna help me. So what do I do? Okay, so it's gonna stand up here. Okay, so this story goes back to about, let's see, probably about the mid-60s. I'm gonna say 64. I was probably a 12-year-old kid, and I lived at an end of a street that had a glass house on the street. And behind my house, my parents' house, of course, was a huge walnut orchard. And then if you went to the end of the street and looked across to the stop thing there that represented the end of the street, there was another orchard there. So basically, this was a subdivision that was built in the midst of a lot of orchards, almond orchards, walnut orchards, and I think an apple orchard. So the entertainment for me as a kid was just to go out in my backyard, and there was this huge walnut orchard. I would say it's probably, I'm setting the scenario here, I would say it's probably like maybe a quarter mile straight back out of my backyard, and then probably a quarter mile in length. So it's a huge orchard of just walnut trees. Now, at the opposite end of the walnut orchard, if I went straight out my backyard, there was a subdivision that was being built. And they were building it in small sections, as they did here, for instance. And so they were working their way up to the far end of the street that would represent the opposite corner from my home. And so they had big old tractors, earth movers and stuff like that, pushing the dirt around and shaking it up. And then, of course, they just parked their trucks and their huge vehicles for the weekend. And so me and a couple other kids whose faces I can't even remember or names, we went out there and just sort of kicked dirt and walked around and looked at all the survey stakes and climbed up on these big tractors and pushed buttons, and one of them started up. But fortunately, we were able to turn it off. But now, if you can also imagine this area where they had been doing a lot of earth moving, it was a little bit of a hill. So it had this big, you would be up here at one end, and the hill would go down, and then at the end of that would be the end of the existing subdivision, because they were making the new subdivision that I was horsing around in. So we're just climbing around and doing all this stuff, and there's this big old tire that someone had taken off of one of the tractors. And it was probably, now remember, I'm a 13-year-old kid or so, 12, 13, so I'm probably about that high. And the tire was probably that high if you could stand it up. So myself and these 2 or 3 other kids, we decided, let's see if we can get this tire up this little hill that I was talking about, this incline, and see if we can push it up there, and then we'll let it go down. Yeah, just have a little fun doing that. So we actually did that. It was a lot of work. We probably spent a good hour pushing that thing up, turning it over, whatever we could do to scoot it up this hill. Got it all the way pretty close to the top of the hill. Stood it up. Said, okay, let it go. And that tire rolled right down the hill. And then we said, oh, there's a house at the bottom of the hill. I don't know how we stop this tire. You know, it just keeps on rolling and rolling and rolling. And we were just sweating bullets, and we were getting ready to sort of take off in every direction we could. Well, fortunately, the tire just kind of meandered, fell, plopped over, but it was pretty darn close to that house. So we were just saying lucky, you know, that was the one that got away, but we got away with the deal too. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
You have a list there, Michael? Walnut orchard. Okay. All right. Hey, how about a thank you to Brother Bobby Brown for providing our music. Okay, as I call your name, I want you to come back up and stay here, and I'm just going to try to do a synopsis. And then you have been assigned, each storyteller is assigned a letter, and you're going to vote for, you're going to write down on your little slip of paper one letter. Don't write down 2 or 3, just one letter of the story that you enjoyed best or that meant most to you or whatever. Just one letter, got it? Okay, Brianna Moore, come back up here. Brianna told us a story about her grandson that got away. You have your letter, Brianna? Okay. You're A. Stand right over there. You're Susan West? Where's Susan? Come up. Susan, the scuba diver, face to face with a seal. Right over there. Go stand by Brianna. Very good. Ann Creighton lost $25,000. Well, her husband did. Right over here, Ann. You have your letter? You got okay, C. Mick Riley, Brother Nick. Passionate story. God bless you, brother. Glad you're here. Lost in Paradise. We all remembered that whole community, and then of course we were most recently in Southern California. Andrea Schreiber, Andrea, with a multiple, well, never mind, Andrea. Love at 15. Finally married Gary. God bless him. Andrea, okay. Ken Gutman, stand over here. Man in the mirror who got away. Ken, is that you or is that me? Come on, brother. Dave Glass. Dave, professional storyteller. Lily. Stand on the other side of Ken, brother Ken there. The Yankees beat Toluca Lake. I know where Toluca Lake is too, buddy. John, come on up, John. Life in the Air Force. Take the blue from the sky and a pretty girl's eye and a touch of old glory too. And you give it to the man who proudly wears the U.S. Air Force blue. You never heard of that? No. I guess those were the old days. Linda Christian, the miracle of the missing diamond. Come on up, Linda. And Rich Victor, first job in San Francisco. He escaped the city, worked for the phone company. And Bill Bailey, housing around the walnut orchard with a tire. All right. These are your storytellers. How about a hand for all of them? Aren't they great? Wonderful. Vote for one letter that's associated with one of these folks, okay? One letter. One letter. I'm going to give you 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Everybody has their letter, and everybody should have their vote by now. Mike, we got Rusty collecting votes. All the votes at your table. Have someone. We need more collectors, Mike. Who's collecting? Mary Kay, can you come collect some votes? Everybody voted? Okay, you guys may sit down if you like, and you can vote yourself. Thank you. Thank you. Anybody wants to dance to the music while we're counting votes, feel free to do so.
Not me.
Where's Jim Hale? Jim, is it too soon to announce the screenplay that the theater group is going to present? I saw the beautiful poster that Amy Ward designed out front. Boing, boing. Anybody have another vote or another ballot? Right there. Okay, let's count them. Jim, what are the dates of the play this year?
May 14th to 18th.
May 14th to the 18th. Right here in the ballroom. Boing, boing. Go check out the poster. It's going to be wonderful. Amen. You had a good time tonight? All right. Fantastic. Fantastic. I'm not as young as I look. I just thought I'd let you know. I gave that away when I joined the Air Force in '65. And that was after a year in college, for crying out loud. Good grief, John, you're so young. What I would give to 61. Who would like to be 61 tonight? I would. Wow. All right.
Like we're 70.
By the way,
One more year that work. I'll go for 63.
you're getting an idea. I don't know. We'll do this again next year. Might do it before next year. We might do it another 6 months. I don't know. It's a big hit. Seems like a lot of fun. One of the best events people attend. And if you have a story, be thinking about a story, Mike will come up and the group will come up with a theme. Thank you. Thank you, Rich. So be thinking about that, save it, and you know how the format goes, and it's a lot of fun, and we'll let you know with Mike and our group leadership group when we'll have the next one of these. Rich just gave me a little note to announce that Coffee House is March 2nd at 4 p.m. Where is it located here? Right here. You know what Coffee House is? Come tell them, Rich, a little bit about Coffee House. Just tell them. Yeah.
That's a real fun event.
It's people singing and playing guitar, people like John Fashion. And the new time is 4 p.m., and that's the main thing. So they moved it an hour earlier. So March 2nd, 4 p.m.
All right. Music, storytelling.
Yeah. Poetry.
Poetry, reading. All right. Y'all are looking so good tonight, except for Kevin Kennedy. He's not looking so good, but that's understandable. I love Kevin. Kevin's a great director of our theater group. You know, Kevin's a little superstitious. When he's directing a play, I mean, he goes into every detail. In fact, he's so detailed, he never changes pants the whole time. From beginning to the end of the play, because he doesn't want to spook anything, jinx anything. Amen, brother? Right. I love Kevin. All right. Jim Hale and Melanie Ehrlichson are going to be the directors, co-directors of the screenplay. Boing Boings is going to be a comedy, so you know it's going to be good with those two pros directing the screenplay. Have you guys had auditions yet for that? Yeah. Auditions, Jim?
Yeah, there's a poster outside announcing the auditions.
Announcing the auditions?
They're next week, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, different times,
Okay.
over in the River Room.
Great. Anybody else have a vote that didn't turn in? We got them all? I think we're getting down to knowing the winner. We almost have a winner. Okay, I don't know any more jokes. It's a storm and darkened night. No, that's not. Back in my day, it was always, there was a farmer who had a daughter, but that was not appropriate for me to say anything like that. And anyway. I want to thank you for coming tonight. What else? Okay. Do you guys have a winner yet? Not yet. We had a lot of votes. This is our team, Rusty, Mary Kay. Mike's kind of the head honcho, Cecilia, and myself, and Robert. Mike's calling for more music. Jory, is all the wine gone on your table? Duh. Yeah. It was gone at 6:30. Next wine club meeting and wine tasting event. When's that, Jory?
Your house at 7.
247 members in the wine club.
27.
So I was kidding with David last similar to our attendance and our members.
Right.
And they're getting
Yeah, I couldn't hear all of that with the jazz music going.
the wine club should get more attention and a big tasting room.
Oh, the wine club should get more attention in a big tasting room. When we have something in here, there's a lot of tasting going on. For sure. When is the next event, Jory?
The road trip is Thursday, February 20th to Stoneham Winery in Lodi.
Okay.
So everybody else should drive the other direction that day.
Okay. Thursday, February 20th at Lodi. What's the name of the winery?
The ballroom is M2 from Lodi.
Okay.
And then we're already planned out through next year.
Right. You're supposed to be a member of the wine club, right? You go on those events and everything. Amy and I are members. It's really a fun time, and similar to what y'all do here. And everybody brings snacks. Last, January, it was like we had potluck supper here. There was so much food shared around, all of that. Okay, let's see. We got it. Drum roll. First, second, and third. Okay. All righty. This is what we all been waiting for. Ooh, I've always wanted to do this. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let me have your attention, please. Ready to rumble? No. The third place winner of our story time with 64 maybe cents in here, Ken Gutman. Third place envelope feels kind of thick. I don't know, like second and pennies. Yeah, those nickels are weighty. All righty, thank you, Ken. The second place winner and second place storyteller tonight, that is a thick envelope, Ann Creighton. And I think I can promise you one thing. It's not $25,000. It might be close. First place winner of our Talespinners second annual storyteller event is Dave Glass. Congratulations, brother. You're welcome. God bless you. You know what? Yeah. I just really, every single story was special, wasn't it tonight? Every single one of them. I was riveted. Not a dull moment, and they were all beautiful, and we appreciate everyone attending. So thank you so much for this time. Mike, is that it? You want to say anything? The winners, we want your pictures, so the rest of you, have a great night and thank you for coming. Drive safe going home. We'll see you next time. Winners, come up for picture taking, please.